on where else? It's the Urban Cube Show, brought to you on Inspire FM. And Inspire FM is reaching out to the beautiful people of Luton surrounding areas, as well as the wonderful folk who are also beautiful in Sheffield on Link FM, and also Salam Radio, Peterborough too. I hope you're all well and warm wherever you're listening in from, and you've had a fabulous weekend. It is Monday, so it means lots of creative conversations with inspirational individuals on my show, The Urban Cube. Now, the last couple of weeks, I've been keeping you all active and fit, haven't I? Because The Urban Cube is not just creative conversations. We also explore lifestyle and lifestyle changes by inspiring people. And I've been keeping you fit, haven't I, with fantastic folk who are either climbing mountains or picking weights or doing great long walks or cycling. Well, I'm going to give you a bit of a rest today because I'm going to make it a no-brainer day. But now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's actually no-brainer day today, folks. Today is marking no-brainer day. So it's all about having fun, enjoying, and doing simple things and low-key things in order to just relax and just switch off. That's what it is. It's about switching off. And for me, when I think of no-brainer, I just want to read and enjoy a good book. So my guest today is going to inspire us with some reading and lots more. And I'm sure you're curious to find out who that is. But before we do that, for anybody who's never come across No-Brainer Day, it is actually a day, believe it or not, and it's all about getting people to relax. Encouraging people to maybe reduce their stress levels, slow down their brain and body, maybe use laughter to kind of a means to lower stress levels and help the brain and body to relax. And also just encouraging people to just maybe meditate as well, just to slow down. Sometimes we do need to slow down. Wouldn't you agree? Especially at the weekend. Like for me, I've got the kids at home. It's great to have them, but sometimes I I really need to switch off. So it's great to send them to school, right? Do you get what I mean? And then I can actually relax my brain. But if you've got any tips on how you could mark No-Brainer Day, or just, what does it mean to you? Is there a need for it? Contact us on 07779481822. What else are we talking about on the show today? Well, interestingly, Roald Dahl, believe it or not, Roald Dahl has been an interesting topic of conversation for many of folk, because what's happened is there has been talk of his books being edited, basically making them a little bit more politically correct. So the new versions are actually being edited. Now, that's actually caused a lot of controversy, because some people have said, there's no need to do this. Why would you want to edit an old classic book like that? All his old classics. And others have said, no, we need to be a bit more body positive, because there are, characters in the book that have been possibly body shamed, and they need to be edited. So we're going to be having conversations with our guest about that as well. And the reason why I've mentioned Roald Dahl is because myself and our guest actually have a connection with Roald Dahl books. I bet you're curious what that could possibly be. And now I do believe in March is it World Book Day? International World Book Day as well. So that's being marked. So yeah. I'm just prepping you all in advance. And we're going to be talking about Mother Tongue Day, because I believe it was last week. So we're going to be exploring language, and we're just going to be talking, as we do, off the cuff, because the great thing about the Urban Cube is we have creative conversations. There's sometimes they're sometimes candid, sometimes off the cuff, and always creative to get you inspired. And I'm sure you're very curious to find out who is this absolutely wonderful person. That is my special guest this morning. It is no other than the absolutely wonderful Rumki Chowdhury. Now, Rumki is talking to us all the way, guess what, from Sweden this morning. She is an utterly awesome award-winning author and editor, and she's discussing her new book, Secrets in the Wind. And we're going to be having lots more conversations with her as well about everything and anything, because she is a friend of the show. I've had the absolute pleasure of Rumki joining me for wherever she is in the world on the Urban Cube in little old Luton. Now, just a little bit background information about Rumki. Rumki was born in Bangladesh and grew up in the USA. She's also lived in the UK and in Sweden. In fact, she's had an MA in English literature from England. Rumki's previous book publications include So Complicated, Her Feet Chimed, Unveiled, Hijri, and Your Story with Musarat. Now, Musarat was our guest about 2 weeks ago. So Rumki's story was actually featured in Musarat's book. Amazing. Her latest publication is a YA fiction thriller entitled Secrets in the Wind, very much inspired by the real life stories of stalker victims in Bangladesh. And it's an absolute pleasure to have Rumki join me on the show this morning. Assalamu alaikum, Rumki.
Walaikum assalam, Shemaiza. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for joining me this morning, all the way from Sweden. I feel so special that you're joining me all the way from Sweden this morning.
Oh, thank you very much for having me. You made such a beautiful introduction.
Thank you.
It's always lovely connecting with you.
Oh, it's always a pleasure having you join us as well, giving us your time, because, you know, you're a wife, you're a mother, you're a teacher, you're an author, you are an editor as well for some amazing platforms, which we're going to talk about in a moment too. And the fact that you're taking your time out for me, I'm always humbled and privileged by that. But I want to ask you, I'm sure everybody's curious to know, what's the time and weather like in Sweden at the moment?
Right now it's 11:07 and it's sunny, but there's still snow.
Oh, still snow. My goodness. And when you say snow, still snow, how much snow are we talking?
Well, the snow comes and goes, but it does stick a little bit. It sticks enough for my kids to go sledding and ice skating.
Oh, nice. Sounds very picturesque.
It is. It's very picturesque. It's lovely. We live on the 4th floor in an apartment where we have an incredible view of the woods and the mountains where people ski. So it's incredible.
What a life. And mashallah, you have such an interesting life, because you've had an opportunity to live in so many different parts of the world, including America and including England as well.
Yeah.
Where is home? Where is home for you?
Well, I've been around so many different places. I've often been told that I can adapt easily wherever. So home is really where my family is, you know.
Oh, that's beautiful. And that's a great thing, isn't it, about women? We are quite adaptable and great at multitasking. And my goodness, you do sure multitask, Rumki.
Yes, I do. I multitask a lot. I'm doing so many things at the same time. But you know what makes it easy, Shemaiza, is when you have a passion and love for something, it makes it really easy to find the time to do those things. If we are mothers, so a lot of our love and passion goes to our children, and that's where it all kind of takes root and grows out from, when you've learned to love something so much. And then on the side, you've got all these other things that you love to do for yourself. So it's kind of like self-care as well. So in caring for others, you also kind of care for yourself. You find ways to do that.
Indeed. Some great words of wisdom there. Rumki, I wanted to talk to you about something I was sharing at the beginning of the show. Today is National No-Brainer Day. Does that have any significance for you? Can you switch your brain off? Are we allowed to allow you to switch your brain off?
When you said that, I was thinking, what am I going to do today to switch my brain off?
We don't want you to, because your brain is brilliant. It needs to keep, buzzing.
But I feel like when your brain is buzzing, it can still be kind of switched off at the same time. Like for me today, I'll be doing some writing. So I do write for Brown Girl magazine. So I have an article that's due tomorrow. So I'm going to be writing that, and it's for the parenting section. So
Ooh.
again, my love for parenting, it'll stem from there. So I will be writing an article, and that's what I'll be doing to switch my brain off.
I love that. She's still working, but it's a love, isn't it? When you love something, it does feel like self-care and relaxing. But I want, you mentioned Brown Girl magazine, but you're also an editor for two other very, very notable publications as well. So tell us about those.
I'm the editor for World Hijab Day organization and the editor for Bengalis of New York blog. Bengalis of New York blog is situated in New York City, but it has stemmed and grown across the world, where they feature a lot of inspirational Bengalis from all over the world. And we try to do that. We try to highlight and spotlight Bangladeshis all over the world, including the UK. We've had some features on some authors and some inspirational people from there. We actually recently had a networking night in London. That was last winter, and that was quite a success. It took place at you're probably familiar with, I think it's called Route 24 or something. It's by
Oh,
Rahima.
yes. Rahima Begum. Oh,
Yes,
wow.
Rahima.
Brilliant.
Exactly. So it took place there. So it was like a networking night, but of course it's open for everyone, not just for Bengalis. It's just for inspirational people to get together and exchange ideas and talk to one another. And then World Hijab Day organization was created by Nazma Khan in 2013. It was recognized by New York State for being a holiday, actually. So
Oh, wow.
Every February 2nd, people around the world celebrate World Hijab Day, where both Muslims and non-Muslims try on the hijab for a day to try to see what it's like to walk in our shoes. And it's trying to raise awareness because I know it's really unfortunate, but we have even the European Union that has created this law where it's okay for the employer of any country within the European Union to fire an individual if they refuse to take off the hijab when asked. It has now been legalized as of 2021, July 15th. So it's very unfortunate that this is going around where we are not able to choose what we wear anymore. And that's what World Hijab Day is trying to highlight. It's trying to open up people's eyes to the fact that it is and can be a choice for women.
Indeed. And thank you for being part of that flat platform and raising awareness and informing us as well that this exists. And it is really saddening to hear about that legislation that has been passed and has become law, which is so unfortunate. I want to ask you, Rumki, do you feel that this fight seems to be being fought on your own? Do you feel that the network is growing? More and more women are coming on board. Women that don't wear the hijab are supporting it. People who are not part of the Islamic faith are also supporting you in this fight. It feels.
Yes, I do feel like it has opened up some eyes and minds of people who are Muslim and non-Muslim who are non-hijabis. I do feel like I have found support. I mean, I work as a teacher in a Swedish school where I am the only hijabi who is working within the school. There are no hijabi students either. So for me, when I came back after the law was passed, I was a little nervous because I had a new vice principal of the school. We already had a principal who is still going strong. She's still working there for all these years that I've been working there. She's been very supportive of my skill set. So she doesn't focus on what's on my head. She focuses more on who I am as an individual. And she's always been very supportive of me. So when the new vice principal came, I was a little nervous that year after the legislation was passed. But thankfully, after he got to know me, it seemed like, oh, okay, this can work. I don't have to be nervous anymore. But that's the thing, there's always that fear of if I were to switch employers, that fear is still there of whether or not I'm going to be accepted for who I am rather than what's on my head. What's on my head is a part of who I am, but obviously people need to dig a little deeper to find out who I am by talking to me. And the fear will always kind of be there, Shamiza, but I'm hoping that platforms like World Hijab Day organization will try to alleviate that fear.
Indeed, and inshallah. But thank you for sharing your experience, and what a wonderful school that you're at, and you're actually being a role model for so many. I mean, when I think of Sweden, I actually don't think that Muslims actually live in Sweden. I know I'm being a little bit naive here, but what is the diversity like in Sweden?
Well, when I first moved here back in 2012, there weren't that many Muslims as I see right now. So there are actually more and more Muslims coming in. A lot who are seeking asylum, a lot who have decided to move here from other European countries like Italy. So there are increasing numbers of Muslims now. However, we do face some prejudice. You do have the occasional neo-Nazis who leave threatening notes outside of mosques or throw stones at mosques and things like that. And you will be amazed to still see Swedes supporting these Muslims and say, we are not like them. We welcome you. And so we do face some prejudice here, but we are also increasing in the number of residents, but they are also very situated in specific areas. Stockholm, Sweden is, probably one of the most diverse cities in Sweden. So you will see a lot more Muslims here, a lot of masjids in certain areas. So we do have those facilities for us, and slowly we are being recognized as more and more part of the Swedish society, but it's definitely a challenge because there is the occasional debate of the hijab that does come up. We actually had a city in Sweden, which is further down south, called Skåne, where they basically decided to stop children under the age of 13 from wearing hijab. So they have passed a law there. And now that law has been taken away as of, I believe it was last year sometime. So they've taken it away. Now anyone can wear hijab. So that's a positive there.
That's really good to hear. And thank you for giving us a bit of an insight into the landscape of Sweden as well. And it's wonderful to hear. It's sad to hear the negativity, but it's also wonderful to hear so much positivity and support for the diverse communities and the Muslim communities there. And once again, I just want to say thank you to you, Rumki, because through your work and you're making us aware, you're making the world aware of these issues, and also your work is so interlinked globally, because you're not just writing, you're sat in Sweden, but you're connecting in America, you're connecting to Bangladesh, you're also connected to the UK too. I mean, I don't know any woman as global as you, as a creative, as an author.
Well, thank you. That really does humble my heart. Thank you so much. I try to stay connected as much as possible with all the lovely people that I've met along the way as well.
And this is now bringing me to your book. Congratulations on the launch of your new book, which once again has been gaining a lot of wonderful reviews and is definitely inspiring many to pick it up. Tell us about Secrets in the Wind. It's a YA fiction thriller. And it's inspired by real life stories of stalker victims in Bangladesh.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. I remember when I was visiting Bangladesh once, I overheard a story about a little girl who was being stalked, and I looked deeper into it, and I did some research, and I realized that this was actually a common issue in Bangladesh. There are a lot of young girls who are school girls, and they're being stalked by older male figures. And unfortunately, due to societal pressure, sometimes pressure from their own families, they are forced to stay silent about these things. So they don't find proper justice in or even a proper venue to escape these their tormentors. So what I decided to do was do this research and use it in creating a fictitious story, which is very much inspired by real life stories of stalker victims. And in the story, the protagonist, Asha, is from the Bronx, New York. She decides, oh, I really want to get more in touch with my Bangladeshi culture. I haven't been there since I was a baby. I don't remember any of it. Look at all these beautiful photographs in the photo album that my family took. And I haven't visited any of these places. So she asked her parents, this is my last year of high school. I'm about to start university next year. I might not have as much time. How about we go and visit Bangladesh? And her parents were already ready with looking at tickets for that. So she, together with her parents, decide to go to Bangladesh. They take the bus ride from Dhaka to Sylhet, where her cousin lives, and her aunt and uncle, her Kala and Kalu, and her cousin Kushi. And she is really excited because she's an only child. Kushi's an only child as well. And she's looking forward to kind of gaining like a sister figure, like she's really excited. She's kind of seeing everything through rose-colored glasses, but then she realizes that her cousin is hiding a deep and dark secret. And she realizes eventually, as her cousin slowly opens up to her, that her cousin is being stalked by an older male figure. And she wants to somehow find a way to rescue her. She wants to help her escape this man's wrath. So this is following an adventure of sisterhood, an adventure of familial ties and friendship, and just really trying to tackle all of these questions that we have about societal norms in not just Bangladesh, but in South Asia as a whole.
Wow, it's it's a very clever way of making communities have those uncomfortable conversations and share those truths that need to be spoken about. What's the response and reaction been to the book itself? And how do you, when you actually launch or share your book, is it part of a community event so that conversations can be had with the community?
Well, I've launched my book through various venues, actually, including, Bengalis of New York, and we've got Brown Girl Magazine. We have other brown communities as well, where I'm South Asian communities, where I'm trying to get the book out there so people can have these kind of conversations. So I'm trying to also do these live interviews and speaking to various individuals about these issues as well. The thing is, Shamiza, you know how it is. You've got children of your own. I have 3 daughters, alhamdulillah. And I don't want my daughters to feel like they can't come to me for help for the fear of disappointing me.
Of course.
And that's one of the major issues that a lot of Bengali girls face, because they don't want to disappoint their parents. They don't want to ruin their reputation, their family reputation of being good, because they feel like they've been somehow made dirty, So that's what I wanted to do. So I'm hoping, I do hear of a lot of my readers reading, so I'm hoping that they are kind of opening up their minds. And when I was asked by my publisher, Jarabi Kitabs Publishing in Dallas, Texas, when I was asked some questions for the actual press release, one of the questions was, what do I want my readers to take from this book? And the reaction that I'm hoping is the same kind of reaction that I would give if I were reading an incredibly thought-provoking book, where I close the book and I still have it in my hand for a few seconds to a minute and just think, oh, like my eyes have been opened to something. This is something that I need to think about deeper. I've had some questions answered, but I still have some questions left to be answered. And then I would put it down on the table. And that's the kind of reaction that I'm hoping my readers will have after reading this. And when I write, my writing style is also very metaphorical. So I do use a lot of metaphors to also paint a picture to help readers understand where the protagonist is coming from, because these readers are not necessarily South Asian readers. We will have readers who are also not South Asian. So that's the kind of thing I'm hoping that my readers will take, something that will beg questions and analysis.
Of course. We are heading to a break, Rumki, and inshallah, you're still going to stay with us to have more conversations about your writing, inspiring others well. Folks, do stay with me. We're going to be going to a break. And after the break, I'm joined by the wonderful Rumki Chowdhury. So don't go away. Maybe grab yourself a cup of tea. Bye.
This program will continue after the break. Continue listening to Inspire FM. Inspire FM.
Inspire 105.1 FM.
Your number one radio station. Inspire FM. www.inspirefm.org.
Ideal Properties 20 साल से आपकी खिदमत में पेश आपकी प्रॉपर्टी की सारी जिम्मेदारी अब हमारी। हम अच्छी तरह से जांच पड़ताल करके किराएदार डालते हैं और आपको किराया बर वक्त गारंटी के साथ दिलवाते हैं। अगर आप प्रॉपर्टी किराए पर लेने या फरोख्त करने का सोच रहे हैं तो आज ही हमारे तजुर्बाकार माहिरीन से राब्ता कीजिए 01582721110 या फिर 01582696050। Ideal Properties, आपकी मदद हमारा एन फरीजा।
One of the biggest earthquakes on record has struck southern Turkey and northern Syria, killing 15,000 people and counting. Inspire FM are working with its charity partners, Human Appeal and Families Relief, who are on the ground to provide emergency aid. From as little as £35, you can help us to provide life-saving support, including food, water and medical aid to survivors of this deadly earthquake. WhatsApp the word DONATE to 07779 481822 to receive our Just Giving link. Together, we can help Turkey and Syria.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. On the authority of Anas, may Allah be pleased with him, who said, I heard the Messenger of Allah, may the blessings and peace of Allah be upon him, say, Allah the Almighty has said, O son of Adam, so long as you call upon me and ask of me, I shall forgive you for what you have done, and I shall not mind. O son of Adam, were your sins to reach the clouds of the sky, and were you then to ask forgiveness of me, I would forgive you. O son of Adam, were you to come to me with sins nearly as great as the earth, and were you then to face me, ascribing no partner to me, I would bring you forgiveness nearly as great as it. It was related by At-Tirmidhi, who said that it was a good and sound hadith.
Whether you're looking to refresh your current bathroom or enjoy an exciting complete new design, you'll find everything you need at trade prices at Bath & Tile Superstore in Luton, with service with a smile from our super friendly staff. Why not take advantage of our 3D design service? Big names, designer brands at low prices. Bathrooms, tiles, radiators, adhesive, grouting and accessories. Visit the showroom where there's extensive stock to take away or arrange for delivery. That's Bath & Tile Superstore, Cosgrove Way, LU1 1XL. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram for inspiration and updates.
Top tips for this winter on Inspire FM. Road safety is very important, and during winter when the days are shorter and it becomes dark during rush hours, it can be difficult to see other road users. Be sure to take the appropriate measures to stay safe. When crossing the road, make sure to position yourself safely at a crossing where you will be visible by drivers. Avoid using your phone or headphones so you are aware of approaching traffic. For more winter advice, stay tuned to Inspire 105.1 FM or visit our website www.inspirefm.org.
Richard didn't want to die, but he couldn't stop himself. The collision didn't kill him, but he wasn't wearing a seatbelt, so he hit the inside of the car. That didn't kill him either, but his internal organs carried on travelling until they hit his rib cage, and his lungs were punctured, and the main artery from his heart was torn. And that's what killed Richard.
From the studios of Inspire FM, the time is now 10:30.
Catch a creative vibe on the Urban Cube with Sister Shamiza.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum. Thank you so very much for staying with me, folks. It is 10:30, 27th of February, and you're listening to the final half an hour of the Urban Cube. Where does the time go? My goodness, when you're having great conversations, and I am having a fantastic conversation with the wonderful Rumki Chowdhury, who's joining us all the way from Sweden this morning via Zoom. So it's an absolute pleasure to be in the company of Rumki. Now, Rumki Chowdhury is an award-winning author and editor, and she today joins us to talk about her new book called Secrets in the Wind. And we've been really delving into the topic of this book, which is about the safety of young girls, really. So Rumki is somebody whose work is super poignant, and she has features in a multitude of really reputable in spaces and platforms, and it's always a pleasure to have her join us today to share with us the significance of her work. Rumki, thank you so very much for staying with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure speaking to you, Rumki, because I learn so much, and it's been tremendous following your writing journey as well. And I think you and I kind of met a very, very long time ago around a particular book. I don't know if I'm jogging your memory here, because earlier on in the show, I mentioned a well-known childhood author or a book that many of us grew up reading, and unfortunately, that book is now being edited to kind of change some of the language in it, which is not politically correct. And the author that I'm speaking of is Roald Dahl. Do you remember his books, Rumki?
Yes, I do remember. I remember when we were together also, we were together at, it was East London Mosque, where they were holding the world record for most books read by an adult to children. And the book was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And so I definitely remember that, Shamiza.
Yes,
and
yes.
I am familiar with the news that you're talking about. I do have opinions.
You do have opinions. Now, it was actually a World Guinness Book of Records that we actually broke at that event. And I'm super, super proud of that. It was for the big read. I believe the charity was If. I can't. Do you know what? I can't recall.
Yes,
it was, yeah. And it was tremendous. It was so exciting to be able to do that. There was a number of well-known Muslim creatives that participated in that event, and I was very humbled to be invited to join in and to read and put my best reading voice on. But I do recall you reading, and I was like, I want to sit there and listen to Rumki reading. But it was such a treat, wasn't it? Absolute treat to have done that. But coming back to the story, I don't know if there's been a U-turn. I think they may possibly not have to edit the new editions. But your thoughts on that, and language and perceptions and of images in books, and the impact it has on young minds.
You know, this is regarding censorship, where in a way, I do understand the fact that the publishers want to make all children feel like however they look, that is the norm, you know. But at the same time, I'm, for example, currently with my what grade is it? Ninth graders, and we're reading The Help by Catherine Stockett. Are you familiar with The Help by Catherine Stockett?
I'm not. Sorry.
Okay. The Help, it was also made into a movie. It's about 1960s Alabama. Is during the time where of segregation, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King. So it's a fictitious story very much surrounding those issues of racism in America in the 1960s and 50s. It's the story about African American maids and their status in society during that time. And this was published not very long ago. It was published around the 21st century. So maybe sometime within the last, I think it was 7 to 10 years or so. And in that book, they still use the N word.
My goodness.
And when I read, I obviously don't say the word. I just say N word because there's no other way I can say it. But just considering the fact that there is a major publisher that published a book now that uses that term, and then you're looking back at a very classic story like Roald Dahl, you start wondering what kind of issues should we be addressing, really? You know, you've got the censorship of, okay, body image, but then where's the censorship in using the N-word in modern literature, contemporary literature, in the YA department? So that's where my opinion is. It's like, this is a timeless classic. We've got Roald Dahl, we've got Matilda, we have Charlie Chocolate Factory. You know, these are timeless classics, and when our children are reading them, they have fun reading it because it's so entertaining, you know. And I've never actually thought about what they're bringing up right now when it comes to censorship, but it does make me start thinking deeper. And when I start thinking deeper, I start questioning other literature that's being published right now.
Indeed, it does.
So,
It's like, where is this actually heading, and what is it actually wanting to achieve? Like you said, I understand partially, but I think, you know, it's safe to say that those classics are part of many people's childhood, and I don't think they've actually done that much damage. I think we can read
agree
before.
I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. You know, like,
definitely.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, it was fun. I mean, come on, when we have literature and we want to envision how the character looks, we're going to be describing the character and how they look, right? And it's not always going to be your ideal characterization.
Indeed.
It's not going to be what is considered the norm, you know? And then you start questioning what is considered the norm nowadays. So there's a lot of questions that are going into this. What is considered the norm if they're going to be tackling censorship in a classic book by Roald Dahl? What are you considering to be the norm? You know,
I would like to ask you the question, Rumki. What sort of books should we all be reading? What should the norm be then?
I think the norm should be whatever you want to read, Shamiza, honestly, because there's so much incredible literature out there by not just, you know, popular bestsellers. Okay, we have marginalized voices who are publishing every day, and they're not even necessarily being published by major publishing companies. Just because something is a bestseller doesn't necessarily mean that it's you know, the kind of book that you should be reading. You know what I mean? We've got a lot of marginalized voices being published in the world where by smaller publishing independent companies that also tackle a lot of what they consider is norm. We've got Muslim literature. We have a lot of Muslim literature out there.
And the beautiful thing is, there are so many new titles, new writers coming forward. Have you seen a change then in the last, say, 10 years from when you began writing up until now?
Yes, I have tremendously, because when I had my first publication come out, that was in 2008. And I was probably I think the second Bangladeshi author that was published abroad, next to Rabina Khan. So
Wow.
Rabina Khan came out with Aisha's Rainbow before me. So I did meet her as well in London. We're still very much in touch. So it was really inspirational to meet another Bangladeshi author. And then slowly but surely, we have so many other authors that are out there. We've got S.K. Ali, Randa Fateh Ali Khan, and then we've got so many other authors, so many Muslim authors out there who are being published now. So in a way, marginalized voices are slowly making their way out there, but publishing companies are still very selective with who they publish. And that is something that we talked about I think it was 2 years ago when I was part of a virtual book tour in the US, and this took place in Dallas. And the publisher is my current publisher, and it was covered by the Dallas News. It's a major newspaper, and what the topic surrounded was the fact that my publishing company, Jarabi Kitabs Publishing, was running this virtual book tour, and it featured a lot of Muslim authors. And she, through her publishing company, was trying to highlight these Muslim voices that are normally not highlighted by major publications or major news and media because of the fact that Islamophobia is on the rise, for example. So what is the norm? Well, the norm is really defined by the individual. For me, what is normal in the 21st century is being able to come out and say, this is me, this is who I am, this is the 21st century, and it's cool to be your own individual now. 21st century is the year of individualism. It's a year to embrace who you are. So when you are picking the literature that you're picking, you might end up picking someone who doesn't look like you in characterization, and that's okay, So when you start looking at all these borderlines and barriers of censorship, what should be censored, what shouldn't be censored, that's also very subjective.
Indeed. For me, it's a no-brainer. Coming back to the National Day we're celebrating, it's an absolute no-brainer, right, Rumki? Exactly. Folks, if you've tuned in and you're wondering who is this wonderful voice on the other side of the microphone, it is no other than award-winning author and editor Rumki Chowdhury. She is a notable writer who has been featured in a number of publications. She's an editor for various publications and platforms. And today she joins me to talk to us about her new book, Secrets in the Wind, which is an absolute celebration of female friendship and survival, really, and making a topic which is considered, I think, still taboo, not talked about enough. And it's about a young girl being stalked. And you mentioned that this is a common thing in Bangladesh, Rumki, which has kind of like worried me a little bit. And it's concerned me. And I'm sure it's concerned a lot of listeners as well. What can be done to support the girls that are feeling under pressure, societal pressure, or don't feel that there's anybody they can talk to?
Well, I mean, there are some organizations that people can be a part of. There's something called My Sala in Bangladesh, which was started to help these kind of girls as well. And it promotes very much education in Bangladesh. I feel like if you are supporting a charity that does promote education in every way, that will definitely help a lot of girls understand what their rights are and kind of open up their minds to a whole other world that exists outside of the norm that is considered to be societal norm in Bangladesh. And I feel like nowadays, if you are fortunate enough and you have, you are fortunate enough and you are able to support your family and yourself in Bangladesh, you're in a good position in Bangladesh, you have a lot more knowledge and a lot more, how do I say, a lot more courage to stand up for yourself than those who are living more in impoverished societies. So one way would be to definitely continue donating to different Bangladeshi charities, but at the same time, having open conversations within your own home with your children, letting them know that they can come to you if they feel like they need help. Because even if you are in a privileged position, in Bangladesh or abroad, you will still have these specific Bangladeshi traditions that we follow where there's kind of like a silence within the culture. And we need to make sure that we break that silence by sitting down at the dinner table with our children and having certain conversations, because our children need to know that, they can come to us if they feel like they're in trouble, if there's a strange man following them or torturing them in any way. What I've done in this book, Shamiza, is because it's a young adult fiction, I've made sure to keep anything vivid to a limit.
Okay.
It's not very graphic at all. It's readable by any child, any young adults, any adults without it being graphic, So I've kept everything very discreet because it is a young adult fiction. But at the same time, there are metaphors and subtle hints on conversational topics that we should be having with our children. So if you want, Shamiza, I can actually read a very short excerpt from my book.
And I was just about to ask you that. So thank you. We'd be delighted. Folks, I'm in the absolute wonderful company of Rumki Chowdhury, and we have the absolute pleasure of her reading an extract from her new book, Secrets in the Wind.
This is where the protagonist Asha is on her way from Dhaka to Sylhet on the bus journey. Seated on the bus, I felt it quake before it drove off with a loud vroom. We were on our way, slothfully alongside CNGs that looked like green boxes on 3 wheels, and vibrant rickshaws that were like horse carriages, only smaller and ridden by men in lungis. Both forms of transportation had flowery patterns modeled all over them. They reminded me of decorated floats at a parade. Amma sat next to me and leaned all the way back in her chair. You can relax now, Asha. Take a nap. You barely slept during the plane journey, she said. Her words pulled my jaw open. I'm about to experience scenic Bangladesh, and you expect me to sleep? Amma had already dozed off into dreamland. I leaned my head against a large bus window. After a short while, the bus cruised onto the dusty and uneven highway. Sitting upright, I admired the jade tea gardens and the golden rice fields, both filled with men and women laboring away, the fishermen with their pointy straw hats and standing up inside their canoes toss nets into the water. I saw cow herders striding alongside cows. The village children lightly tapped black and white goats with branches, perhaps to guide them in the right direction. Chickens, roosters, and their chicks waddled around mint green houses protected by rooftops made of tin. It must sound like an opening night at a Broadway show on the roof when it rains, I thought to myself. That's it.
That's so descriptive, and I just got carried away and I felt I was going to Bangladesh with those wonderful descriptions. That, folks, was a lovely reading by Rumki Chowdhury from her book Secrets in the Wind. Now, I'm sure a lot of people will be curious to know, how can they access this book? Where can they order it? And also, what are your social media handles, Rumki?
My social media handles are Rumki the Author on Instagram and Facebook. On Twitter, it's Rumki Chowdhury. That's Chowdhury with a W, not a U. And my book is available anywhere online, especially Amazon. I mean, most people do order on Amazon. So it's available in both ebook and physical book format.
Now, I'm sure a lot of folk listening in would be curious to know if they are interested in going down the writing route, what tips would you give them?
Well, first of all, if you're already considering writing, then consider yourself a writer. Number one, own it. Own the fact that you are a writer already. And the best way to start is to just write your name at the very top of the page. There doesn't need to be a title or anything. And just, start brainstorming ideas, jotting them down, because you'll be amazed at the form that it takes in the end. Your literature will actually change along the way based on your own critique, based on critique from various trusted individuals within your circle that you trust, family, friends, maybe some author friends and writers. It's important to take that feedback in. Both positive and negative feedback is very important. It's important to keep an open mind to actually develop your writing till it reaches its full potential. So definitely own the fact that you're a writer, write your name on that document, jot down your ideas, and include people within your circle to give you the feedback necessary to develop it to its absolute potential.
Thank you. Some great tips there from Rumki Chowdhury, who's with us this morning, all the way from Sweden. I like saying that. You're all the way here from Sweden. Makes me feel special. Rumki, your students must really love you. What's your thoughts on your role as a teacher?
My students love the fact that I have an American accent when I speak. That's the first. I definitely have a connection with my students. I try to keep my door open when there's break time so they can come in and we can chat about anything and everything whenever they feel like. And I always encourage them to speak English because their first language is Swedish in this country. So I had to learn Swedish before I actually became a teacher here.
Oh, wow.
So that I'm able to translate different words. They definitely give me very good critique when they talk to the principal. So that's a positive. And their parents always tell me that their children are talking good things about me. So that's also positive. And I feel like, it's always fun. The problem is, the problem with teachers who are really strict in the classroom is, yes, you should be strict, but to gain that respect, you need to also show respect to your students as well.
Indeed.
You need to let them know that it's okay for you to come and speak with me. I'm open to wherever you want to sit. That's my daughter in the background.
Oh, wow. Hello. What language? What's their accents like? I'd love to know because are they like how they speak 3 different languages at home or 4?
Oh, my daughters, they speak mostly English at home. And their accents are, my older 2 are more American than my youngest one. My youngest one has kind of like a British twang to her. So I don't know. That could be it. But we definitely do have Bengali. They do understand Bangla. And the positive thing about Sweden is that they offer you mother tongue within the school free after school. So my kids
Wow.
once a week learn how to read and write Bangla at their Swedish school once a week every Monday. So that's a positive.
That's phenomenal. Considering we were talking about the difficulty of maybe some communities finding their way, and yet their mother tongue is being celebrated. How wonderful is that? Now, last week, there was a celebration of mother tongue, and I saw you mark that on your Facebook as well. So how important is it to keep our mother tongue and sharing that with the next generation?
I think it's really important. It's part of our culture. It's something that keeps you connected, which is why when we recently went to Bangladesh last winter, I was really happy that my children were being exposed to more and more Bangla. And they surprised me as well when they started speaking it. I didn't think my kids knew that well. Bangla until they actually spoke it in front of me, because usually we're speaking English with each other at home unless it's their grandparents, you know. So it's incredible. I feel like, you know, it's the 21st of February, International Mother Language Day, and I usually mark it because I feel very fortunate to have that connection with my own Bengali culture, having grown up abroad and still having had the privilege of holding that part of me.
And you're such a beautiful ambassador for it, because not only are you in a world so far away to for so many of us, that you're celebrating your culture, your faith, and sharing this understanding in your books as well. It's absolutely wonderful, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. But I wanted to ask you my final question today is Ramadan. We've got about 57 seconds left on the show. How are you hoping to mark Ramadan? Are you looking forward to it? Have you started preparing?
I'm looking forward to it. I've started preparing mentally. I've decided to cut down a little bit on my editing job so that I can focus more spiritually on Ramadan and the Quran itself. And I am going to still do one article about Ramadan and how mothers are, putting their different cultures into it as well, especially when it comes to the cooking and the different traditions of decorating and such. So
how
yes.
Exciting. I look forward to reading that. Thank you so much, Rumki, for joining us. It's been an absolute treat.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. That was the absolutely amazing Rumki Chowdhury joining us today, all the way from Sweden, talking about her new book, Secrets in the Wind. And from me, it's Assalamu alaikum. Catch me next week, same time. Keep smiling.